Hello everybody, we're going to be doing a series review of the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers from the first round. And game one was just a really good start for the Rangers as they end up going up early with the Tarasenko and Kreider goals. So they go up 2-0 in this one. Lindgren does score the only goal of the second to go up 3-0 in this. You would see Jack Hughes would also score in this one, but that was after Chris Kreider ended up scoring another goal in this one. Hughes would later on to go and score off of a penalty shot to make it 4-1 New York, and then the Rangers would go on to score just another one to secure a 5-1 win at home. And this was big too because the Devils were held to just 18 shots in this first game as the Rangers ended up winning just a big one on the road here. Game 2, which is in New Jersey. I think in the first game I said that the Rangers were at home. They were not. But in New Jersey, this got off the better start for the Devils as you saw Erik Haula score the first goal of the game to give the Devils their first series lead. But the Rangers had 3 goals in the second, including a goal by Chris Kreider and then another goal by Chris Kreider to make it 3-1. Patrick Kane and Kaapo Kakko would end up scoring as well for the Rangers, who would win yet another one on the road. They end up going up 2-0 in the series with another 5-1 win. For Devils fans, this was really the point where you started to panic and say, are we really about to lose in 4 games to the Rangers? Game 3, the first one in Madison Square Garden, and this is where you saw the Devils make a goalie change as it went from Vitek Vanacek to Akira Schmid, and this one ended up looking like early on that this would be kind of a scary game for the Devils as they end up actually going down to a Chris Kreider goal in the second, and that was his 5th goal of the series for the Rangers to get a 1-0 lead, looking to take a 3-0 series advantage here. But Jack Hughes evened up things on the power play in this one to give the Devils a little bit of life. We didn't see any goals in the third period, so we got overtime. And then in overtime, we saw Dougie Hamilton, the big prized acquisition for the Devils last offseason, or the season before this offseason, and he ended up scoring an overtime goal for them to give them a win in the series, and they're just down now 2-1 instead of 3-0, which would have probably ended New Jersey's season in Game 4 or Game 5, considering that it's so hard to come back from a 3-0 series deficit. Game 4, again in New York. This is the second game at Madison Square Garden, and it saw the first goal of the game from Jack Hughes as the Devils take a 1-0 lead, and they're trying to keep this confidence built up from Game 3 as they pick up their first win in Game 3. Game 4 looking up to tie this series. No goals in the second for either side, as in the third we saw 3 goals, and that was one of those being the Vincent Trocheck goal for the Rangers to tie it up for the home team. But unfortunately for him, the other 2 goals in this game were scored in the Devils' favor, so they end up going on to win this one 3-1. The weird thing about this that you saw a few times in this series was there wasn't a lot of shots in this one. 46 total shots, 23 from each side, as the Devils win on the road 2 games in a row to tie the series up when the Rangers were looking to possibly sweep the Devils in 4 games. And of course, that's not happening now. Game 5. This one is back again in New Jersey, and both sides look to take a 3-2 series lead, and it's Ondrej Palat who ends up scoring the first one here of the game to give the Devils a 1-0 lead. 2 more goals later on in the second by Erik Haula and Dawson Mercer would go on to give the Devils a 3-0 lead. Pretty comfortable there. You're feeling pretty good about it. And then later on, with about 5 minutes left in the game, we saw another goal, this one being another Erik Haula goal, this one also being a empty netter, and this was good too because it gave the Devils a 4-0 win and a 3-2 series lead. So they're down 0-2 in the first 2 games. They end up winning 3 in a row, and they put the Rangers on the brink of elimination going into Game 6 at Madison Square Garden. Game 6, the Rangers are down in this series 3-2. They might be feeling a little pressure facing against them, but at the same time, they're in through the first 20 minutes, and it is tied 1-1. Zibanejad and Tarasenko ended up giving the Blue Shirts a lead and a little bit of breathing room to make it 3-1 New York. The third saw 2 more goals, these ones being in favor of the MSG crowd as they took a 5-1 lead. Familiar, yes. And then eventually we did see a goal by the Devils to make it 5-2, but ultimately the Rangers win this one pretty comfortably at home to force a Game 7, which of course would be in New Jersey, and it is a winner takes all as the River rivalry is headed for the full stretch of games. In Game 7, we saw both sides tied up at nothing all after the first, but the Devils were able to put up 2 goals in the second before ultimately scoring 2 more in the third to go on to actually win this one 4-0. There was a lot of talk about whether or not Schmid would start in Game 7, or at least enough talk after Game 5 didn't go particularly well, Game 6, excuse me. But the Devils ended up keeping him in there, which seemed like the smart thing to do. And for New York, this is rough because the Rangers made a lot of additions. They went out and they got Tarasenko, they got Kane. They made some other moves as well, or at least over the course of the past few years, they've been able to make moves to try to build a very talented and entertaining team that would hopefully go on and replicate some of the success that they had last year in the Eastern Conference Final, or that run of the Eastern Conference Final, and possibly go on to even go and win the Cup, their first one since 1994. Doesn't happen. Artemi Panarin didn't have a big impact in the series for points, stuff like that. So there was a lot of talking points about him kind of, fading when they didn't need him to. There's also talking points about having all this talent and they weren't able to go on and win this series after holding a 2-0 series lead. There's going to be some changes in New York. There's going to be some guys that are lost in the offseason as they were rentals, and for them, this is not the way they wanted it to go after having such a good year in the playoffs last year. As for the Devils, they showed that they could really rally back after taking a 2-0 punch in the first 2 games, being outscored 10-2. They go on to win games 3, 4, and 5 to set themselves up nicely for a potential Game 6 series win. They don't win that one. It's pretty tough to see that. But then, of course, in Game 7, they end up shutting out the Rangers and then getting a 4-0 win as they finally have some momentum. And I think this is their first playoff series win since the 2012 Stanley Cup final run that they had, where they ended up losing to the Los Angeles Kings. But for this one, this is a feel-good story for the Devils. They've been the little brother to the Rangers. They've had to watch the Islanders have success in recent years too, and they haven't been a uber relevant franchise in like a decade, but here they are now upsetting the Rangers. Not even upsetting, they were the team that I picked, and they were the team that finished higher in the standings as they go on to play the Carolina Hurricanes in the second round, as we see the second and third best teams go on to face each other in that matchup. Really excited for that. What are your thoughts on this series though? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night, and you go with hockey, all right? Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.